Matrix today. We're going to be talking about initial force generation. This is extremely important and should be held to a higher standard than absolute strength. You know, the glory in performance training and especially the weight room is given to absolute strength. How much can you squat? How much can you deadlift? Oh, wow, he squats 800 pounds, he squats whatever, deadlifts whatever, all that. The problem is with that is that your sport is a rate of force production sport. It's about how much force you can produce in the shortest period of time possible. Easy way to understand that is your foot is on the ground for fractions of a second. Therefore, that means you only have fractions of a second to produce force. So the majority of your time should be spent in rate of force production. I'd rather be in the world of diminishing returns of rate of force production than a diminishing returns of absolute strength, meaning working to add just 10 more pounds to your squat is going to do almost nothing for your actual on-field play. I'd rather spend the majority of my time just working on how fast I can produce force and trying to max out that specific category, right? Because you know on the field when you play, your foot is on the ground for a fraction of a second. So you have to eke out all of the gains possible in your rate of force production in fractions of a second. Now we use the vertical leap as the gold standard of testing because the only way to jump higher is to jump faster. That means that you have to complete the vertical leap movement in a shorter period of time to jump higher. We know this. It's been proven over and over again. We use it in our facility day in and day out to be able to teach and work and educate kids on how to actually improve their vertical leap. And that's what all of our vertical leap training is centered around. It's producing more force in a shorter period of time. Now, if you look at this, right, at the bottom here, it says, therefore, by improving your vertical leap, you are increasing the amount of force you can create relative to your body weight in a shorter period of time. So just by that alone, you know that you'll be able to actually move better and cover more space. And that's the currency of an athlete, is the amount of space that they can cover or create. If you can't cover a lot of space, you can't create a lot of space, you're not worth anything to the team that you're on or the team that you want to get recruited by. That's why you hear in the professional leagues like, oh, he lost this step. But what that really means is the athlete couldn't cover or create the amount of space that they once could as a younger athlete, right? Because when you're a veteran in, let's just say, the NFL, your IQ is higher, you see plays, you see angles, your technique is probably even better than it's ever been than when you were younger. You understand positioning, you understand your position's dynamic more so than ever. But it doesn't matter if Deion Sanders is your DB coach. If you can't run a 4-3 to stick with the receiver, your technique is out of the window. You can't showcase your technique if you can't cover or create a lot of space in your position. So we focus highly on initial force generation. And that goes to the vertical leap and a broad jump with that as well, but mainly the vertical leap. Because if I can teach you how to jump higher, well, the majority of your acceleration in that 10-yard dash is pushing from a squatted kind of position, right? You're not upright like you would be with a straighter, stronger, more reactive leg in a sprint. You're squatted down with larger ranges of motion within that quad, hamstring, glute that you can pull from to create that down force down and back. Now, yes, you do this at max velocity, but when your foot touches the ground, when you're accelerating, it's in that bent position, whereas if you're at max velocity, it's in more straight position. So that vertical leap has direct carryover to your 10-yard dash. Now, occasionally there's a disconnect from vertical leap and 10-yard dash. I understand this completely because I came here with a 40-plus inch vertical leap, but my 10-yard dash was nowhere near what it should be. And part of that is, A, are you actually doing the 10-yard dash enough to apply those forces? I can't just vertical leap then automatically assume I'm going to run an elite 10-yard dash. There's a skill component to that as well. Understanding mechanical advantage, understanding the lean barrier, making sure your psoas, the muscle that lifts the knee, is actually strong enough to put you in a position for range of motion to actually apply down force into the ground. And then, lastly, and not, that just doesn't mean that it's unimportant, the ankle complex needs to be stiff enough to handle your upper leg force. So if you create this big, strong upper leg that can produce a lot of force fast, well, your suspension or the ankle has to be able to take on that force and redirect it back out efficiently and recycle that energy. If your lower leg cannot recycle the upper leg's forces, well, then most of that force is going to be dead into the ground. It's going to be leaked completely. It's called an energy leak. Right? So you could have the best mechanics in the world. You could be driving down and back behind your hip, but that force, if it just goes into your ankle, right, and then your ankle just collapses and the heel touches into the ground, you're creating a dual contact, and when that heel touches the ground, your force completely dissipates. It's like jumping rope and then landing on your heels, right? You're bouncing on the ball of the foot, bouncing, everything's good, recycled, you land on your heels, it goes dead into the ground. So you need to make sure that the ankle complex can handle the forces of your vertical leap. So we train those in tandem, we train those together. The ankle complex has become the most efficient group of muscles I've seen yet in all athletes that come in here. And that's due to a variety of reasons. In football players, they spend more time squatting and deadlifting and pushing through the heels, so their ankle is never built up to their actual upper legs power output. For kids, they come in and they've never touched weights in their life, yet they're still heel striking to the ground consistently. Well, that comes from, in my opinion, mostly footwear, right? You're sitting here walking on these little basically clouds and rubber and just foam, and your foot gets extremely lazy, your ankle gets completely lazy, and they don't turn on as they should. They don't interact with high forces as they should, because shoes are designed for comfort. If you're consistently getting high forces even from walking over and over again, that shoe company is not going to sell many shoes, because the majority of Americans in America are not the majority of people in America are not athletes, yet they're still wearing Nikes. Nike sells more shoes to non-athletes than they do to athletes. So it's comfort-based. It's not actually performance-based. And that's why we recommend the Antibes Muscle Runners as our shoe within this facility, because they're designed for athletes. So you experience high forces over and over again, and your calf complex gets the actual stimulus needed in footwear for proprioception, but also to be able to be reactive, so we don't have a big upper leg balance compared to the lower leg. So we don't have a big strong upper and a weak lower, so we push into the ground with the quad and the hamstring and the glute, and we push in, and then the ankle just collapses, which is what happens to most kids. It's the biggest deficiency I see in younger athletes. So that's something that I want to really touch on and want all of you to understand. The next one we're going to go in tomorrow is the Center of Mass Management Day. That's the glue day that brings acceleration and initial force generation to life, and teaching you what it actually means to become a better athlete moving left to right, because it's not hoops and hurdles, it's not agility ladders. All of those predetermined drills are almost useless, to be completely honest with you, and you're paying money to get tired because you're not addressing the underlying issues of center of mass management that you need to address. So we'll go over that tomorrow. If you tuned in, you like the video, share it, comment any questions. I'm excited to be here and answer all of you. So